Good evening. I'm Representative J. Hughes from District 12, Lafayette. This is my response to the Governor's State of the State. The State of the State message you just heard was missing three key things that are important to me. Public education for all Mississippians, access to health care, and basic fairness for the people of Mississippi and not just the corporations. The State of the State for big corporate campaign contributor is tens of millions of dollars more in tax cuts and tax breaks on the backs of the working people, the teachers, and our public schools in Mississippi. We have seen the campaign promises by the governor and the Republican legislative leaders broken just as soon as the polls closed in November. Just last week, Governor Bryant, supported by his legislative team, unlocked the rainy day fund in order to cover his coveted business tax gifts to the campaign contributors. All we heard during the legislative election year was that we cannot touch the sacred rainy day fund to help things like schools, hospitals, fix roads, and bridges. But now there is not only a siphon on the fund, but budget cuts as well, all to cover the tax cuts that they dished out like candy during the election process in the last 4 years of control. We heard how great our economy was doing in the Silver Shovel Awards of the governor claims for such a great and robust jobs program. Any new jobs around you? The truth is now abundantly clear. We need $75 million just until July 1st to cover shortfalls created by the $350 million in corporate donor tax cuts the past 4 years. After July 1st, we face another immediate $200 million budget shortfall and $126 million more in business tax cuts and breaks for their buddies. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's not for working Mississippians at the cost of Mississippians. During their first term in power, the Republicans have taken $350 million of your and my tax dollars and given them to corporations and other businesses as grants and tax credits. Did you get any of them? The supermajority is now pushing to give $245 million more of our precious, delicate budget dollars to their campaign buddies to eliminate the corporate franchise tax. Giving your tax dollars to corporations is one campaign promise they do intend to keep. You'll just have to pay more for gas, for your car tags, and your property taxes and school taxes to cover those giveaways. The leaders love to say that we got rid of franchise tax because Louisiana does not have one. Well, Louisiana has one other thing that we don't have, and that's a $1.9 billion deficit. So not the millions, but billions of dollars. And that's because they gave away the farm and tax credits too during their last administration. This new single-party control of your tax dollars will absolutely do anything they want to demonstrate their absolute power. A case in point is when they politically power silenced actual and legitimate Mississippians' votes in House District 79. The very same type of affidavit votes counted in every other court of every other county by the circuit clerk in all 82 counties, and the very ones that the Speaker Gunn had in his own election challenge in 2003. Well, they were discounted. Yes, the Republican supermajority voted lockstep to remove the Democratic representative from his legislative seat and then seat one of their own, as if it wasn't enough to have the supermajority. Representative Eaton followed all of the rules, all of the laws, including a drawing of straws, witnessed by the governor and the Secretary of State. This was constitutionally done. This is what we're about. And it was done to preserve the integrity of the election process and determine the winner of the election. Yet, in the House of Representatives, his removal was rank in a disregard of the law and the instructions of the Secretary of State. And it gave the Republicans that supermajority that they so needed so they can push through even more giveaways to out-of-state corporations while taxing working Mississippians at the local level and at the expense of all education at all levels. The supermajority spin will be that they have spent more on education this last year than any year before. But the truth is, what you know, we spend more on every single thing that we buy every year. It's because things cost more each year with the cost of living. But what they are glaringly missing telling you is that part of that cost is the tens of millions of dollars in completely wasted time of student testing. That time and money, in the millions and thousands of hours, could have been spent on quality teachers and classroom instructions for your and my children. Just research how much the lobbyists spent in Jackson whining and dining for these testing corporations. We saw the majority slash education funds for K through 12 by $200 million, and then another $170 million was heaped on top of that. Now cuts to other education programs further harm our universities and our community colleges. The Republicans are now planning to redraft the Mississippi Adequate Education Program formula as a new method of allowing even more drastic cuts to our local school district funding. Measures such as this ensure the schools will consolidate and that local taxes will be raised because the state is not committing to doing its fair share by sending your tax dollars back to you. Their special needs voucher program that was touted as a perfect example of how the voucher can work was an abject failure. Of over 400 potential candidates that were only 250 were approved and only 107 were accepted in our private schools. As predicted, the private schools cherry-picked and refused to accept 2/3 of the special needs children into their facilities. Now this administration further harms families by cutting local funds that could help ensure these special students get the instruction and programs that they need to fulfill a healthy education role in our society. And next comes loud and clear, as the governor said, and they've all touted today on the Capitol steps, school choice. Ladies and gentlemen, this is nothing but a buzzword to make sure that private corporations get their hands in our tax dollar cookie jar. This administration is pushing a program that will weaken local schools while giving our tax dollars to corporate school barons who have found friends in the legislature and shown them a way to yet fulfill another one of their campaign promises, fueled only by greed instead of public service. Studies beginning 20 years ago show that school choice programs that the Republicans are pushing has not helped children reach the goals promised in Louisiana, in Indiana, in Florida. In fact, it proves it does not help the children. What it proves is it hurts those that are left behind, and those who use the voucher program score less than their counterparts in our public school system. The spin you will also hear, and listen for this, you will hear this. Well, you get to choose to buy your groceries and where to buy your clothes and which church gets your tithe money. Why shouldn't you choose your school? Well, it's easy. Those are private dollars. These are tax dollars. Imagine how the state budget would work if you got to choose which roads or bridges or agencies in the state that you wanted to have your tax dollars go to or not go to. So much for their campaign promise of putting education first. Their fight against public education now comes into very full, clear focus. And finally, all of these campaign tax cuts and breaks and gifts to their biggest corporate donors do not inspire businesses to come to Mississippi and create jobs. What does is an educated and skilled workforce, soft skills, a quality public school system does. The tax credits and breaks are nothing more than blatant paybacks to big donors on the backs of working Mississippians. Ask yourself, what did you hear tonight in the state of the state that helped and is fairness for the people of Mississippi? Expanded gun rights, public dollars to private and religious schools, and raising gas taxes on the average Mississippian does nothing to help us out of 50th place or attract more jobs. It just secures our place in last. Mississippi citizens, please take notice. Take notice tonight that it is 4 more years. You must be informed, you must be engaged, and you stay engaged. Play a role in and make sure you know what's going on down here in Jackson. Otherwise, it will be a long and painful 4 years if you are not lucky enough to have been a big corporate donor to this administration's supermajority. Thank you and good night.